It's a commonly used graphic device to substitute a word or letters in a logo with a picture. This is called a rebus. You're more likely to be successful with this technique if the word is a common one or the letter is a simple shape. Avoid substituting the first or last letter of a word, which is likely to cause the word to be read without the picture, and keep the image simple. Here are 5 simple examples. For the first, I've substituted the letter O with a target. This is a custom shape taken from Photoshop. So in Photoshop, I went to my custom shape tool, and from the pull down, I chose that symbol. If you don't see all the symbols that I see here, come and choose all to load all available symbols. Then holding down the Shift key, I draw out an example of that onto my canvas in Photoshop, Command or Control C to copy it, back to Illustrator where I paste it, Command or Control V, as a compound shape. It will start out with no fill. I can then size it and apply a fill to it and integrate it with my type as necessary. Secondly, for the hook in the word major, replacing the letter J, I started out with a piece of stock art and then traced it using image trace. And I have another example of image trace coming up in just a moment. Thirdly, the butterfly is another custom shape from Photoshop. This goes against one of the things I suggested you avoid, and that's using the symbol as the first letter. And I don't think it works here because it's likely to be read as treem rather than extreme. In this fourth example, the image is too complicated. This has been traced from an image, but while it works at this scale, any smaller and we're going to lose detail in that. But let me just quickly show you how this was achieved, and it might work with a more simple image. If I come to my layers panel, I'm on layer 4 here, and I twirl that open, we can see that I have that image on a separate sublayer. I'll turn that on, turn off the group that's below it, select it, image trace it, come and change my image tracing options. I'll reduce the amount of noise for a more accurate trace, and depending on the image you're working with, you may want to swing the threshold slider one way or the other. In this case, I'm going to leave it where it is. I will choose to ignore white so that the white shapes are just transparent rather than drawn as opaque objects. Then I can expand that, and now it's a question of simplifying this as much as possible. So for the first stages of this, I would come and choose my eraser tool, which is on the same tool space as the scissors tool if you don't see it, or Shift E, and then change the size of my eraser with right bracket to go bigger, left bracket smaller, and just rub out the easy parts that are on the edges that we can remove very easily. And then for the more integrated parts that we want to get rid of, we are going to have to get in close and maybe select them anchor point or small object by small object and delete them. And that can be a rather time-consuming process, but we want to simplify that as much as possible and then scale it down and integrate it into the word. Lastly, another example that uses a Photoshop custom shape as its symbol. I replaced the I in fire with the fire symbol, but I feel that it looks more like fair than fire. So instead of replacing the whole letter, I chose to replace just the dot of the I with the flame. So try this yourself with the logo that you're working on. See what you can do to replace words, or more likely letters within the logo, with symbols.